Hi everyone and welcome back to the Wolves Fancast YouTube channel for another episode of GTA Fancast with me, Gully, going to be reviewing the first official competitive game of the Bruno Lage era, which ultimately was quite a promising start despite the 1-0 defeat to Leicester. We're going to have a look at the shape in general, what differences we can see between the way we played under Nuno in a 3-4-3 and the start we made under Bruno. Have a look at the front line and the way we're moving the ball as well, and what we have to look forward to, I think, because there are plenty of positives that came out of that game. So if we start from the back and move our way through the team in terms of the approach and have a look at the way we look to kind of get a result from this game, I think in possession, particularly in the game at the King Power last year, we really struggled to get out. I remember Jamie Vardy really just kind of standing on Connor Cody, him being the key in terms of playing out and making sure, we get a passing game going. This time, there's much less of an onus clearly on Cody to be the one that is spraying those passes around. And Romain Saiss in particular, who I think has always been quite an underrated passer of the ball, was streets ahead of everyone else in terms of making progressive passes into the forwards. You're looking for him really to be making balls into the feet of Traoré, balls into the feet of the wing back, and perhaps even into Jimenez as well. He's really good at making those penetrative passes where, there's certain avenues that, high risk but high reward once you get the ball into them as well. And the other thing that I think Bruno has clearly given a bit of a directive to is Max Kilman, who was playing on his unnatural side, so, slightly awkward in that sense, but I think being a left-footed player on the right, when he was picking up the ball in these kind of positions, he actually opened up the pitch entirely because he was coming in inside. The majority of the players would be out there. He wasn't just kind of siphoned off to play with Keanu Herver on that right-hand side. He was able to get on the ball, step out with it, and I think, we always laugh and joke about the fact that he was a futsal player, but nobody's ever really tapped into the idea that if he had the ball at his feet, he might be able to make something happen. And in this game, we saw a number of examples of him, getting into the box even and having a shot at goal. He then got on the end of a cross, and he's clearly been given a little bit of a sense of responsibility to go on and actually play some football. And why not? At the end of the day, this back three has its virtues, and one of them is the fact that against a single striker in particular, you are able to manoeuvre the ball and then step out into the midfield and actually start to dictate things. And I think it makes it less of an onus on the likes of Neves, the likes of Matinho to come deep, get the ball and then play. When these guys are up here, and you can see from their touch maps that they were operating slightly higher, for a start, they can get on the ball in more dangerous positions and they've got more options ahead of them. But also, if we do lose the ball in here, they're in a much better position to go out and press and actually recover the ball. And if you look at the ball recoveries for both of the sides, we did a really good job in that central area of picking up all the loose balls and then restarting those attacks, which, with that back three pressing up, it's really, really important to try and maintain that pressure so you can build up spells of games where you can dominate. Now, moving on to the forward line, obviously we know that this is really where the quality of the side is elevated slightly, I think, especially with the return of Jimenez. And I think it was really important to note that it does look to be pretty much where he kind of left off in terms of his levels. And he can score all the tap-ins and penalties that he wants in pre-season, but what you want to see is when he gets the ball into his feet and he turns and he's causing trouble for defenders. I think there's one in particular, a moment where Soyuncu got quite tight to him. He managed to turn away from him really sharply and he got hacked down. And I thought, when I saw him do that, I thought, this is the Raul that we all know, remember and love, and he's going to be a real asset to this football team. He was encouraged to drop slightly deeper, and a lot of his touches were kind of in this area in particular. But I think when you are playing as part of a front three and you've only got the two central midfielders who have to stay quite central and can't necessarily be asked to go run beyond the striker because they would leave us exposed, you do need that link man in the middle of the park there, and he's obviously got the ability and the responsibility to go and do that. But the other interesting thing, and it clearly seems to be the way that Bruno wants us to play, he's not siphoned Traoré out onto the flank like we would have been under Nuno. quite often last season. It was very much our two wide men really were playing wide, you know, Neto on the left flank, Troyer on the right flank, and then the plan would be get down the wing, beat your player, carry the ball 30, 40, 50 yards at a time, get a cross in, and almost hope for the best, you know, getting Dendonker on the end of things and things. And it just wasn't quite, you know, a sophisticated enough plan, I think, to take advantage of the qualities that we have. Now, obviously, Troy always kind of dominated a lot of the talk post-game, especially given the fact that he had the best chance within the game to score. And really, you know, if you're thinking about it, he's making those chances himself. You know, you can't have Traore wanting to score and telling people, you know, he should be putting these chances away. And yes, he should have, but at the same time, if he's not in the side, you're not getting those chances, because without, you know, his attributes, you're just not getting into those positions, especially the ones that he created all by himself. But clearly, Bruno wants him to play off the left-hand side with Trincao as well. I don't think he's necessarily quick enough to play as kind of an out-and-out winger, so he's going to be playing off the right-hand side. And what it means now is that I think we need to try and discourage Traore from carrying the ball long distances like he had been. You know, there's a real onus previously, you know, for him to get get the team up the pitch by himself, basically. But if you have a look at where he's taking his dribbles from in this game, much higher. In terms of his touches, he had more touches in the attacking third than the middle third, so he wasn't coming too deep to come and collect the ball in really totally congested areas. So, you know, he was isolating his man a little bit more when he could. You know, he had Marcel running out on the outside of him on occasion as well. And I think while he kind of gets used to playing that way, and he can be a little bit right-sided bias, so he's coming into traffic and trying to take shots at goal from distance and things. But what he needs to do basically is just have more time under Bruno to learn what he's asking for him, learn how to link up a little bit better with Jimenez, not by just getting down the wing and crossing to him, but getting the ball into his feet, playing 1-2s, etc, etc. And I think Trincao is also a player who thrives off having teammates to work off in close proximity as well. I've spoken about this with Morgan Gibbs-White, another player who, you know, needs players around him. And I think the real promising sign here is, if you look at the two heat maps of the two sides again, Leicester's was very reminiscent of the type of heat map you see from us, almost as if there's a force field around the penalty area and around that kind of holy grail position of just in front of the 18-yard box. You know, that's where some of your most dangerous work can happen. But we actually, you know, there isn't any parts of the pitch which are too heavily kind of hot, so to speak. So it showed that the ball was being moved around in different pockets of the pitch. But you're also seeing, you know, plenty of work going on in that holy grail kind of spot where it's in front of the 18-yard box, in front of the centre halves. And, you know, you can get a little bit of joy from creating chances in those spaces. So, you know, hopefully that's a sign of things to come. And, you know, I think we should all be encouraged really by the fact that when you look at, you know, the XG timeline, I think Wolves Analytics shared this post-match the other day. It clearly shows that we should have got something out of this game. Now, results do mean something. Clearly, they're the most important thing when it comes to, you know, the league table at the end of the season and whatnot. But I don't think, you know, we should be looking at this game as a negative kind of story. It really was. I mean, I have pretty low expectations anyway, given the injury problems that we've got and the lack of signings and whatnot. But if that's what we've got to work with, and that's what we produced against what was the 5th best team in the country last season, against the 13th best placed team, you know, I think that second half is a real triumph in terms of Bruno's work in pre-season. So hopefully when those injured players come back and we add a couple more additions, we've got a much more fluid, much more potent team who will be able to take advantage of some of the chances that we created in that game. But tough couple of games coming up against Spurs and Man United. But, you know, reason for optimism again, like I say, and we'll have a look after next Sunday's game against Spurs to see if we can get off the mark and on the score sheet for the Bruno Lage era.